welcome to the Dethroning Your Inner Critic YouTube channel. I am your host, Joanna Kleinman, psychotherapist, best-selling author, CEO, and founder of the growth and transformation coaching company, Dethroning Your Inner Critic. And today, I want to talk about a paradox that's emerging in our society. So, despite this profound shift in consciousness that's been happening over the past 3 years, I think there are still so many people who are more disconnected from themselves than ever before. Okay, there's a lot that we're culturally waking up to, but individually, we are still living a lot of our lives in fear and frustration and overwhelm and disconnection to ourselves. So transformational thinking was once considered a little woo-woo, but now there's been somewhat of a collective shift in consciousness, really since 2020, right? So the global pandemic, a lot of other significant global events have really prompted a lot of us to reevaluate so many aspects of our lives, all right? So many priorities, our deeper values, and we're starting to recognize the importance of relationships and family and personal growth. We're seeking more alternative healing practices like meditation and yoga and holistic medicine. We're more conscious of self-care and exercise and mindfulness practices. Remote working has become a thing. We're reevaluating our traditional work schedule. We're focusing more on work-life balance, right? We're hearing more things being focused on sustainability and renewable energy and environmental conservation. We have increased awareness of certain social justice issues, right? A major focus on equity, diversity, inclusion. In fact, a lot of my keynote speaking events have been with organizations that are very focused on equity and diversity and inclusion. So there's been way more open discussions about mental health and the stigma that's been reduced around seeking help. And there's been a lot more emphasis on supporting our mental well-being, okay? The pandemic has really opened our eyes to wanting to be part of a community and having stronger support systems. So, why are so many people feeling more disconnected from themselves than ever before? Okay, so let's talk about a few things. First of all, we are definitely on a digital overload, okay? The amount of time we're on social media, responding to emails, other distractions in our lives, that leaves little room for us to be fully present with ourselves. So we are always trying to consume this wealth of information around us, news and content, but that leads to a constant state of distraction and overwhelm. And we're so busy trying to consume this content that we end up comparing ourselves and our lives to this curated, idealized version of life, of other people's lives. And we have been living into this collective feeling of inadequacy and disconnection from our true authentic selves and our true authentic nature, okay? So the more we are disconnected from our true nature, the more inadequate we feel, and then the busier we try to keep ourselves to distract ourselves from that internal state of disconnection and inadequacy. So you might still find yourself in a state of chaos and running from one task to the next. Or you might be so overly focused on your goals and achievements that you want for your life that you're not really even connecting with your true inner values, your true purpose for your life. Okay. Now, most of the issues in our society, depression, anxiety, right, within the individual self, and then globally, the increase of violence and hatred and, right, polarization. I think that the source of this is being disconnected from ourselves at the core. We're so disconnected from ourselves that it shows up in our society, okay? And we're not trained from the time that we're little to really get connected with ourselves, to trust our inner wisdom, okay? We're really trained to be who other people want us to be and do what other people want us to do, okay? Remember when we were little in school and, your teacher said, I know you want to run around right now, but now you have to sit and pay attention, right? We just weren't allowed to fully express ourselves from the time that we were small, okay? Right? Our parents might have said, I know that you really want to be an artist, but really you should look at being like a lawyer or a doctor because that, that'll give you more security. So we're disconnected from our true essence. And we've really created this self that we present to the world, okay? And the self that we present to the world has had us abandon our true self, okay? So we find ourselves living what we thought would be a great life, and yet we can't experience gratitude for any of it, okay? And then at worst, when we're really disconnected from ourselves, now we can start getting into some serious judgments that can go even further to being able to harm other people emotionally or physically, right? That is how we've really had a lot of unhealthy parts of our culture emerge, okay? And of course, it's been building for many generations. So the world has thrown a lot at us, okay? Especially in the last few years. We've had pandemics. We've had wars. It's easy to get caught up in the darkness. And we can really almost get hopeless as to how are we ever able to get connected to our true essential nature with all of the challenges going on in the world around us, all right? Now, here's what I want to say. Sometimes we just automatically get caught up in these challenges, okay? And we can blame our stuckness, our overwhelm, our anxiety on the challenges of the world. That's sometimes easier than really taking full radical responsibility for our role in why our life keeps looking the way that it does. Okay? There's an opportunity for you here to give yourself the room to see what really wants to emerge in your life. But that can be very confronting, okay? It's a lot easier, even though it feels like it's more painful. It's more familiar to stay in the known unhappiness that's right in front of you than to consciously decide that you are ready to create something different for yourself and for your life. Okay, so even though there's this collective shift in consciousness that's happening, my question to you is, are you leaning in to your inner whispers of your soul that might be trying to speak to you? Are you listening? Are you taking the time and the space to pay attention to your inner whispers? Okay? Or are you trying to hold on to the familiar and known parts of your life that deep down you know are no longer working for you? Okay? So, do you feel like you're in a transition? Like your life was informed by one thing that you thought, right? And now all of a sudden, in the last few years, there's been a pivot, and now you feel like you're sort of walking into this different world, and it feels unsettling, to say the least, okay? Now, I know I feel this way. I keep looking at my bigger vision that wants to emerge, and it doesn't feel comfortable because it's not something that I know how to create. But the biggest shift for me in my life has been to follow the breadcrumbs that are emerging right in front of me while using a completely different mind, right? That's the work that I do in the world. That mind is the mind of our authentic self. The mind that I have been consciously and deliberately designing and then supporting, hundreds of people all over the world to do the same. Because it is only by becoming acutely aware of our automatic mind, that's the mind that I call our inner critic, that's how we create freedom. That's how we create joy. That's how we create peace. That's how we create fulfillment. We cannot create those emotions and feelings and experiences by trying to control the outside world. Okay? Now, here's the most challenging part of all of this. We need a vision that is our North Star, because it gives us a direction for what we're creating. But while we're following our North Star, if we get attached to how the journey towards that North Star is supposed to go and what it's supposed to look like, that's how we get caught in our anxiety, our fear, our frustration, our overwhelm, our self-doubt, our judgments of ourselves and the world around us, okay? And that is sure to ripple into every area of our life, our relationships, our joy, our peace, our fulfillment, our balance, okay? So with all of this incredible undercurrent of transformation in the world, okay, there's a lot of people that are waking up, but we really need to understand that the only thing that truly creates transformation is a mind that is internally at peace no matter what circumstances we are faced with, okay? You might have a big vision that you want to impact the world. You might have a vision of impacting your community. You might have a vision of impacting your workplace. You might have a vision of impacting your family. There's really no such thing as a small vision. We all have a vision for something. And if we're following the breadcrumbs, very often, right, when we're in that space of uncertainty and unknown, right, it's like we've crawled out on the small branches of a tree. We're like, oh my God, we're about to fall, okay? And when we're following that path and we can't see where we're headed, we can't see the destination, our inner critic mind hates this, okay? And so that's when our physical nervous system gets hijacked, all right? Now, it is our internal navigation system that is the most important part about creating your vision, is really understanding how to tune into your inner navigation system and to see clearly when your inner critic has hijacked your nervous system, okay? So let's talk about what we do when our nervous system is hijacked. Now, I've found 3 things that are incredibly helpful when my inner critic has hijacked me, okay? And the very number one is I get connected to nature. Now, sometimes that means I just take a walk around the block. I go sit under a tree. I stare at the sky. I sit on a bench. I let the sun shine on my face. I might talk to a tree, okay? But what this really gets us in touch with is that there is a bigger universe out there that creates the energy that causes the little acorn to turn into a big acorn tree. It causes the sun to shine every day. When we get connected to nature and we can really get present to that, we can get out of that small conditioned mind that just focuses on us and trying to prevent the past from continuing, right? We want to make sure that we don't repeat past mistakes, and we want to try and control the future. But when we get connected to nature, we can remember, okay, that just like in nature, there is a flow to life. And if we can get connected to that flow, we can remember that all there ever is this very moment. When we're thinking about those worst case scenarios in our future, we're in our minds. When we're thinking back to our past mistakes, we're in our minds. If we're really focused on this very moment and just following the very next breadcrumb, there's peace in this very moment. Okay? Number 2, I ask myself the question, what do I already know that I'm really good at? Because this question connects me with my innate gifts. Now, our inner critic only wants to focus on where we're not good enough and how we need to become different than who we already are. So when we really connect with what do we already know that we're really good at and that we could just do naturally, and when we do it, it's so fulfilling that we don't even think about anything else. We're just kind of lost in the doingness of the thing that brings us joy. That's a really important question. Number 3, I think back to a time in my life when I had so much worry and fear about how something was going to go. And then, now that I have some distance from it, I realize, it all worked out. I can see the path. I can see why the challenge was even in my life in the first place, what it was there to teach me and show me, and what I learned from it, right? And mostly my lessons from all of the past times where I've been in so much fear and worry, my lesson was all about letting go and not trying to control the direction of how my life would unfold. See, now I realize that all there ever is to do is follow the breadcrumbs. And even when it looks like it's not working out, it's really always working out for us. That realization has changed the course of my life. And I have to stop and take a moment and reflect on that to get myself back to surrendering and trusting the unfolding of my life, the timing of all of it. Okay, my inner critic wants to know how it's all going to go, when it's all going to go the way I want, right? She's all about wanting to predict and control. Now, in these moments, if you can really look and see that so far, even when it looked like it wasn't going to work out, you're okay. Now you can start to see a path, and you can actually start to see how the right people, the right resources came to you right when they were supposed to. It's like the universe aligns and says, yes, I'm here to support you. I'm here to take care of you. I'm here to give you everything to get your vision aligned with your true essential self. Okay? Now, our minds tend to spiral when we're facing an uncertain future. Okay? It's going to imagine all the ways that you could mess up, you could lose money, you could embarrass yourself, you could fail. What our minds aren't conditioned to do is to imagine all of the people and all of the support and all of the resources that's going to show up to meet our challenges. And when we are creating big visions, There is always challenge. So take a moment right now. Think about a time in your life where you took a chance or a risk and it seemed like the universe just delivered the right resources, the right people. They just kind of showed up out of nowhere. Now, we can't imagine it because we don't even know that those people and resources exist yet. It's like in the blind spot of our life. We don't even know what we don't know. Okay? But looking back, you can see that it's happened before. When you had no idea how you'd get through a challenge. And then looking back, it all just came together when you least expected it. Now, our inner critic mind does not care if we're thriving or feeling fulfilled or feeling at peace or doing what we love. Our inner critic only cares about keeping us safe from risk because its sole job is to keep us safe and to keep us procreating, right? These are primitive survival mechanisms at play here. So our culture is actually set up to have us abandon our true selves, okay? We don't get rewarded for tuning into our true selves, right? We think that we need to stay in pleasing everybody. We need to keep saying yes to too many obligations and to too many people because what if they get upset with us? And what if they don't think that we're doing a good job? And what if people start seeing our flaws and imperfections? Okay, we spend all of our time focusing on trying to control what other people think about us. And that is when we stop pursuing our own fulfillment. And listen, make no mistake, the minute you start setting boundaries and saying no and doing things that are in alignment with your true inner authentic self, there will be people that will question you and challenge you. There's not a whole lot of support for this, okay? So very often you can be left feeling unsupported, right? So it's really important if you are having the courage to pursue your vision, please take a moment and acknowledge yourself for having that courage to do what you want to do for yourself in your life, okay? And if you haven't been honoring yourself, what you want to understand is that it is so deeply ingrained in our culture to not honor ourselves. Okay, so if we find what's really true for us and what we really want to express in the world, that's what's going to make a difference in the world. When you know how to tune into your authentic self, you give other people permission to do that as well. Some people might be envious of you, but other people will watch you and they'll actually get inspired to go for their visions as well. But you've got to first understand how to be out there modeling this behavior in the face of not much support and not a whole lot of agreement. Okay? So when we're so engrossed in the chaos and the storm of the world, okay, we can get stuck. And we can even convince ourselves that I can't really share about my vision because there is too much sadness in the world right now. But I assure you the biggest difference we can make in the world right now is connecting with our true authentic selves, our true essence, and bringing forth our vision. Because that is the way we are going to spread peace and fulfillment in the world, right? So if you are somebody that has a vision and you're feeling stuck and you don't know where to go with it, You might have a very clear idea. It may be more like a whisper, like, you know what? I'm done with this life. I don't know where I'm headed, but I know what I am done doing. When you let yourself tune into those whispers, now you can be present to a much bigger future that you're living into. It actually calls you forth. There's something that starts to emerge where you get inspired. And that's when your life takes on a beautiful sense of unpredictability. So instead of being fearful about what's going to happen today, you wake up and you kind of get excited about the unknown. Like, gee, I wonder what's going to happen today. I wonder who I'm going to connect with. I wonder what opportunities are going to present themselves to me today. Okay? And that's when we start reaching for things that we never thought we'd reach for. Okay? Instead of just getting caught in the same old routines of the day. So I have created a community of the most extraordinary women who are all reaching for their vision. For some, it's just an inner whisper. They're not even clear what that vision is. For others, it's a really clear vision and they have no idea how they're going to create this huge vision. So wherever you are, it makes such a difference when you have a supportive community around you. Now, whether that is becoming a part of the community that I've created inside of the Dethroning Your Inner Critic company, it could be you create your own support system within your friends, within your family, but I encourage you to not go about this alone and by yourself, because the most important thing when we are building our visions is that we can see ourselves through the eyes of others, right? Other people see who we really are. They see our authentic selves. They see our authentic nature, even when we are so stuck in our blind spot that we can't see it. So thank you for tuning in today, and I hope you found this discussion useful in really understanding where your automatic mind can suck you in and how you can really create a different life when you are unhooking from that automatic mind and tuning into a mind that is connected with your true authentic self and being right here in this very moment. So thanks for tuning in. See you next time.